morning. Welcome to the Good Life Meditation. For today, the 19th day of February 2017. Haven't been doing this for a while. Kind of got off track with the fact that I'm on my motorcycle again, not driving the car anymore, and so I can't really do it on my drive. And also the computer's been on the fritz. But my daughter's offered to let me use her computer to upload this, so I'll give it a try. So pardon me if I kind of keep my eyes on the set waves back there. They're coming right up around my feet, splashing a bit, so I don't want to get caught off guard. So, stormy day. So let's do this. The Good Life Meditation consists of 3 objectives and 20 principles now. So first we have the affirmation of human and civil rights. Human beings have particular rights that really shouldn't be compromised, and there's a big one coming in now. Rolling through right there. Look at that. This includes the rights to, as they say, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You know, I'll happily leverage from my own country's founding documents in the pursuit of these. Any principles, ideas, philosophies, or maxims that make sense. Basically, what it means is that we need to protect we shouldn't sacrifice the little guys in pursuit of larger ends. It's a simple idea. I have a lot to work on that one, but let's move forward. 3 objectives. The first is the objective of the development and maintenance of good, sound life principles. That's what this whole exercise is all about. And by the way, even though I stopped uploading videos to YouTube on this subject months ago, I still do this every single day, every morning, sometimes twice a day. Second principle is the cultivation of good emotional reactions to the circumstances of life. So to be able to push through life, and even though the activities may be churning and swirling about me, I'll cultivate good emotional reactions to them, not flying off the handle or letting my life be driven or carried along by my emotions, but rather managing those and letting them inform my better decision making. The next principle is the objective is the pursuit of good performance of good actions, simply doing good things along the course of the day. Let's go mobile. Why not? Come on. It's starting to rain too. So next is are my principles, and there are 20 now. The first principle is the principle of war. Every morning I wake up ready to go to war with everything that I hold dear. All the ideas and beliefs that I have, nothing would satisfy me more than to take them down. Man, there's a wall of rain coming. We're going to get wet, so I better go quick. If war is my object, to take down everything that I hold dear in terms of my principles and objectives and my values, to show where their faults are, then reason is my instrument in doing so. Reason and the sub-principles of honesty and objectivity, to look at the world with clear eyes, to try to ascertain what is true and what is not, and then to use that information to determine whether or not what I believe is about the world is actually, in fact, the case. Next is the principle of, oh, here's the strange one. So if I got 1 is war, 2 is reason, 3 is something called, is a new one to this lineup. It's called the Homunculus. And the Homunculus is the little man or woman that lives in our head. Right up here, right behind the forehead, that looks out through our eyes, kind of controlling the levers. And of course there isn't such a person, but this is a reminder to myself that all of this activity of running myself happens from within my head. There isn't anything external. There's no connection to any external agency or even a soul. It's all right happening within here. At least there's no evidence that there's anything like that. It's all operating as if it doesn't exist. As if the homunculus, the little man in my head, is pulling the levers. Oh, the rain's really coming down. Next is with the homunculus. After the homunculus is the principle of the home of good and evil. If the homunculus is here, then that means that good and evil reside here with the homunculus. Good and evil, there's no good and evil out there upon the face of the waters. It's right here. It's an impression, and indeed an opinion, and indeed a perspective. Likewise, whoa. I better cross back across. I don't know which direction the tide's going. I might get stuck here. Let's make it across. But there's big set waves coming. Look at that. Let's wait for these sets to go through, and then we'll cross back. So the homunculus is there, and the home of good and evil, and also what we hold to be. What's the next one? The next one is the. Let's cross first. Okay, the homunculus and the home of good and evil. After that comes purpose. The purpose of life is, in essence, it's biologically driven. It's to have children, to get our genes into the next generation successfully. After that, it's up to us to decide our own purpose. For me, I've decided my purpose is to, I've got a kid and she's almost grown, so after that, I need to pursue something else. My purpose is virtue. To live a virtuous life, whereas virtue is defined as the improvement of well-being to as many as possible. To increase well-being and decrease suffering. And I do that through largely through this activity of trying to make myself an instrument of such living, an instrument of virtuous principles and activity. Next comes the atomic principle. The atomic principle simply states that everything in the universe is made of bits and pieces that flow and change and are forever transforming. See all these little bits of sand here? Likewise, you and me, my hand is just composed of atoms, molecules that will soon enough be pulled apart, dissolve away. Everything that I am will be gone, including my essence of who I am. Next comes the principle of nature. Everything in the universe has some nature, and it's a worthwhile thing to identify what that nature is, so that we can better understand what to expect of the things around us and the people around us, and as well as for ourselves. What is our nature? My nature is to walk alone in quiet, walk alone in empty places and to think. Next comes the after the principle of nature is the principle of maturity. Maturity is a state of having experience in life and being willing to use that experience towards improved living. Oh, it could get wet here. And there's two sub-principles, wisdom and fortitude. Wisdom is that accumulated experience. Look at that hole. And fortitude is the ability to, and the willingness to push through difficult times in the pursuit of more mature ambitions, or despite our feelings to the contrary when we're under the guiding principle of our own objective mind or the reasoned arguments of others. The beach is completely gone. There's usually a beautiful beach here, but it's gone. Look at that bird. Can you see that? After maturity is the social principle. Social principle simply is an observation that human beings are social animals, that we need one another to survive, and that our best ends are social ends. More than a very refined and distilled form of good. From that comes the principle of the Feast of Offal, whereas offal, O-F-F-A-L, I think, is the waste and byproduct of the butcher's arts. You know, all that scrap meat that may get used in sausages and the like. But for the way, most part, it's the stuff they wouldn't put on the front counter. I came up with this idea when I was observing how human beings kind of, when they live through unprincipled living, they kind of spill off this waste and byproduct of emotions, you know, anger, frustration, all these things that kind of spill out, and, you know, road rage, honking the horn, you know, getting angry at work, you know, yelling at your spouse, or, you know, saying mean things to your loved ones. All these things is like that waste and byproduct that comes out from not living a principled, disciplined life towards identified objectives. And I was thinking, it's like a feast. It's like people spill it out, including me, give it out, and other people grab it up and consume it. And when we consume it, when we take the honk on the road rage's honking horn in earnest, when we take that to heart, take it personally, we're consuming that waste and byproduct, that feast of offal. And the principle of the Feast of Offal is just a recognition of that exists, and a reminder to not consume that. After the Feast of Offal comes the principle of temperance, which is a reminder of controlled consumption. To not, wow, it's a good thing I left when I did. Wow. Big wave just came through where I was just a moment ago. I would have gotten wet if I'd stayed out there for that. Temperance is that's a big old wave right there. Look at that. Wow. The temperance is controlled consumption of real things like food and drink, of activities like work and play, and of emotions like anger, frustration, hate, love, all these things, controlling our consumption of them. And also controlling our consumption of emotion, of activities, of actually doing things. Temperance is a learned capability that we can gain over time through practice. After temperance comes agency and the great indifference. Agents are, see, this was all sand before, this is all now rocks. Agents are anything that's alive, and the things that they create are their artifacts, the artifacts of agency. And when you subtract those away, you're left with what I call the great indifference, which is what you see right out there, the face of the deep. The empty landscape of a desert, the bare stone face of a rock, this indifference to our well-being. It's the universe's, the lack of agency behind the universe. Or at least so it appears so far. No one's been able to show with any at least to my satisfaction, that there's anything beyond that. No God. No guiding spirits, no fate, no destiny, none of those things. Unless destiny be the obvious things such as death. The danger with the great indifference is that when we encounter it, we're likely to, it's fearful, we're likely to ascribe false agency to it. For example, say that there is a God behind it all, and that God has a purpose for us. And that God is the great explainer. There's no good reason to think that's the case. Next is the best seat in the house. The best seat in the house is right here, right now. to not want to be anyone else or be anywhere else or be doing anything else, but just be satisfied with the life that I've got. It's not you know, giving up or just a vain acceptance of things, but being all right with where we are while we're working towards improvement. It's a delicate balancing act, a satisfaction in the moment while striving for more or better. Like I say, I'm going fast. A rain wall is going to get here soon. Taking my way along these rocks. Next is the path of wildness. The path of wildness is a way of getting ourselves unstuck in life, when we recognize that a decision must be made, and we move forward by identifying how much time we have to think about it, and then begin collecting our facts. And when the appointed time for a decision has arrived, if it's still necessary to make a decision at that point, then we're going to make a decision based on the facts that we have, which, if they're not enough, then we'll take some informed guidance from our gut feelings and move forward, ready to recognizing that we may be making a bad, this may be the wrong way to go, stepping in the wrong direction, but confident that at least there's some virtue in moving forward under our best intent and our best informed condition. It's a way of getting unstuck. Otherwise you can get stuck in life. We can get stuck in life. I can get stuck in life. And remain so for a long time, which it's a pity when we live such finite lives. Next is the risk of avoiding risk. When we are faced, especially at young in life, I'm talking in our early 20s, mid-20s, we're faced with opportunity to live according to our nature, to live the life we want to live, and we choose to not do that for fear of the consequences. You know, maybe I won't get the job that's more secure, or I won't be able to start my retirement plan, or have a nice pension at a reasonable age, or maybe I'll make mistakes and lose everything, or people won't like me, or whatever the case may be. When you give in to those fears, you may in fact avoid the consequence of those things you're worried about, but open yourself up to a deeper, more insidious risk. And that is the risk of not living according to your nature, not being true to the individual that you are and the life objectives that you might want to pursue. And in so doing, the consequence over time may be that you become a monster. I don't mean it in a literal sense. I mean it in the grieving, angry, frustrated, older, decrepit, less capable, less mind sharp individual that you may become, who looks back and realizes that they sacrificed their true nature on the altar of security. Look at that. Be wary of the risk of avoiding risk. Next is sin and damnation. Sin, of course, entails damnation, but my point is that this is not something that comes of life later, or the afterlife. Damnation is in the here and now. And there are 5 main types of sin. The first, and they're all basically the same thing, just different flavors. First is to not live according to our nature, to first recognize what our nature is, and then to choose not to live according to that. Doing so opens up that risk of avoiding risk, that deep risk, and the immediate effect is damnation, which begins immediately and will grow and develop over time. The good thing is that it's over with when you're dead. There is no damnation after. Since there appears to be no afterlife, there's nothing. It's all in the here and now. That's a big wave. The next risk is the next sin is the sin of falsity, of being false, which you can see how it's similar. It's basically not being true to what we know to be true. The next is credulity, which is an overwillingness to believe, an eagerness to believe, usually because it satisfies some immediate end that we want to have, some immediate comfort that we want to have. The next is faith, which is a strong one and a difficult one, because it's usually regarded as a virtue by most. But I see faith as actually a form of credulity. Faith by definition means that the very definition of faith is to believe things unseen or unsubstantiated, or even in spite of proof to the opposite. That is a form of credulity, which is, again, a form of falsity. Next is superstition, and then dogma. I think they're pretty self-explanatory for why they are sins, and the consequence, again, is damnation in the here and now. Living on untrue life, believing false things. Next comes the complete oblivion. After this is all over, it's all over. We dissolve away back to those constituent parts of which we were made, and we go back to nature. And the flame, the candle of the mind, the song that plays in the head, the dance of life comes to an end. And just like the song goes nowhere, the dance does not dance on, and the flame doesn't persist in some way, it just goes away. So too the homunculus will be extinguished. Our lives are gone, and complete damnation, complete oblivion begins. With that is entailed that there will be no final reunion with the ones we love, no final reconciliation with those that we may have had hard times with, and no final justice with those who are unjust, or for whom justice is owed. If you want those things, you need to pursue them now. Call up that person that you want to be close to again. You know, offer an apology and a willingness to talk, or an olive branch of discussion to those who you want to reconcile, and seek after justice now while you have a chance. Well, we have a chance. Next comes, and we're near the end here, next comes the season of philosophy. It arrives for a while, at the point when the mind has sufficient maturity and wisdom, and a force of will to be able to make something of what we've learned in life, and to perhaps compose a few meager thoughts, to put those down to share with others. That's the season of philosophy. If we don't make use of it at the time, it will pass. And so and perhaps before we die, our mental capacity and faculties will die out before we do, and we're left sitting there mute, still alive, with a mind that can remember, but capacity and capability that can't put it down. So when the season arrives, make good use of it, as I'm trying to, as I feel my season diminish, my season begin to fall apart, fall away. Almost just two more left. One is the great life adventure. It's a worthwhile thing to pursue a great adventure in your life, usually early on. A centerpiece, an opportunity to live, and a chance to develop the principles of your own, to abide and to form the centerpiece of your life. Take that opportunity. Avoid the risk of avoiding risk. Move forward and live that life and develop your ideas. And finally, arena and utility. Every circumstance in life, whether I'm here on a windswept ocean point, or at the office, or at home with my family, or driving the car, or running away from the water, whatever the case may be, it's all an opportunity. It's an arena for the pursuit of objectives and the exercise of virtue, and the development and maintenance of principles. And every one of these is has utility in the pursuit of these. So for today, today's thought and action plan is to think deliberate thoughts, to observe my thoughts, and to perform deliberate actions. Make good use of this time. And so ends today's Good Life meditation. Thanks for joining me, everybody. Hopefully we'll have more of these as the opportunity and the technology permits. Take care. Bye-bye.